I will now call to order the February 13th, 2025 Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. County Chief Operating Officer Nancy Bush, would you do us a favor and do the roll call?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So Commissioner Schrader,
Here.
Commissioner Fireside,
Here.
Commissioner West,
Here.
Commissioner Savas,
Present.
and Chair Roberts.
Here, and thank you very much, Nancy Bush, and good morning, everyone. We're holding this meeting today by Zoom only due to the inclement weather. If you're interested in providing public comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. As a reminder to my colleagues, please use the raise a hand feature on the Zoom in place of using our regular light system to notify me that you'd like to make a comment or you have a question. And please also be sure to have your microphone when you are not speaking muted for us. So, Nancy, would you please introduce the first agenda item?
Yes, Chair, would you please convene as the Housing, excuse me, the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners?
Great. And I will now recess the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Housing Authority Board of Commissioners.
Okay, I'm looking to see if Commissioner Leenstra is in the room, and I don't see her. Andrew, is that correct?
That's correct. We do not see Commissioner Leenstra right now.
Okay. We will bring her over if she does show up through this. So we have today is a the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners is providing a update, or I'm sorry, is going to be talking through a hearing. So Mary Rumbaugh, the Health, Housing, and Human Services Director, and Shannon Callahan, Housing Authority of Clackamas County, are here to present. So I'll turn it over to you, Mary.
Good morning. I do see Andrew's hand, so I'll pause for just a moment.
Commissioner Leenstra has just joined. She's now rejoining as a panelist, so she should be online momentarily, just for your awareness.
There she is.
Thank you.
I will go ahead and proceed. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Again, my name is Mary Rumbaugh, and I am the Health, Housing, and Human Services Director for Clackamas County. I'm going to just take a moment to frame up the public hearing that we're here for today, and then I will turn it over to Shannon Callahan. So the Housing Authority of Clackamas County is required by Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD, to create a 5-year plan, which is a comprehensive guide to its policies, programs, and goals. For each of the following years, the Housing Authority submits an annual plan, which outlines its progress toward the 5-year plan goals, changes in policies, and highlights any new activities. To provide an overview of the 2025-2026 annual plan is Shannon Callahan, the Executive Director of the Housing Authority and the Director of the Housing and Community Development Division under H3S. So I will turn it over to Shannon.
Thank you, Mary, and good morning, Chair and Commissioners. As Mary indicated, we are here today to present for your approval our annual plan and our Moving to Work supplement. We are in the 4th year of our 5-year annual plan, our 5-year plan, and we have made significant progress toward the goals that we set. With our repositioning strategy, we are in the process of replacing outdated public housing with new affordable housing, both improving the housing quality and adding new affordable housing to our portfolio. We and our community partners have also made substantial progress with the creation of new affordable housing through the Metro Bond, overachieving on all of our goals. And we have continued to improve the quality of life and economic vitality for our residents, as well as to work with families to increase their own self-sufficiency. And I'm really pleased and proud to share that the Housing Authority already has 5 families who have moved from being renters to being homeowners with the new programming that we have implemented. In addition to updates and progress toward our goals, the plan also provides updates on any operations policies for our HUD programs. We are not making any significant changes to our operations policies, but we are clarifying policies that will go into effect with HOTMA, or the Housing Opportunities Through Modernization Act of 2016. HUD has delayed the implementation of this act, but if during the period that our annual plan is sitting, they decide to move forward with the Modernization Act, we're required to have policies that are in place to accord to that act. This plan has already had one hearing with our resident advisory board, who reviewed and commented on this plan. Their comments and questions are included with this report. And following the close of this hearing today, we will continue to take public comments for a 45-day public comment period. And any comments received today or during the comment period will be added to the plan. And we will submit all of this to HUD no later than April 17th. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Shannon. And kind of looking to my colleagues and commissioners, do you have any questions? Seeing none, I will now open this meeting up for public comment on this specific agenda item. So Clerk, would you please moderate any public comment on this matter for us?
Thank you, Chair. If you are a member of the public attending this meeting and you would like to comment on this specific agenda item only, I'll now have you please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order that I see. This is a final call. If you are attending this meeting virtually and would like to comment on this specific Housing Authority public hearing matter, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Mr. Chair, I see none.
Great, thank you. So I will now close the public comment section and ask my colleagues for a motion on this matter.
Chair, I have a point of order question. Andrew used the word hearing and you have used the word public comment. I just maybe asking legal counsel for guidance. It is a public hearing, so should it not be opened as a public hearing and closed as public hearing, not public comment? I know public comment's part of the hearing, but may just be, a semantics issue, but I want to make sure for the record that we're doing it correctly.
Jane, could you comment on that for us? And you're muted.
I don't see a process issue here. I believe the public meeting was opened. During that public meeting, my understanding is comment was called. So I think my understanding is we're still in the public meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I believe that's sufficient, Commissioner Savas.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll turn again to ask if any of the commissioners would like to make a motion on this.
Commissioner Leenstra, I believe you're trying to speak, but it seems that you're muted.
Sorry. I would like to make a motion that we approve the yearly plan.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Leenstra and seconded by Commissioner Schrader to approve the Housing Authority fiscal year 2025 annual plan and to moving it to work the supplement. Any kind of further discussion on that?
Mr. Chair, I believe the motion should include a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, so yeah, I thought I had done that, but I'm happy to do that again. So I will now close the public hearing, and I had asked my colleagues for comments. So once again, I'll kind of go back to it has been moved by Commissioner Langstrom, seconded by Commissioner Schrader, to approve the Housing Authority fiscal 2025 annual plan and moving that work forward. Is there any further discussion? All right, Clerk, would you call the poll for us?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Fireside.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Leenstra.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0, and thank you very much. I will now adjourn as the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Next up is general public communication. And again, I want to remind folks that testimony is limited to 3 minutes, and I ask your comments to be respectful and courteous to all. As a reminder, you can email submissions for public communication at bcc@clackamas.us, and these will be accepted as a part of the public record. I will now open the meeting for public testimony. I ask my colleagues to please hold your comments until all public communication is finished. And as we are meeting remotely today, there will only be virtual testimony today. So clerk, would you please help us moderate this virtual testimony?
Thank you, Chair. If you are a member of the public and you're attending the meeting today and wish to speak during public communication, I'll now ask you to please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order that I see. Once I call on you, please remember to introduce yourself and you'll have 3 minutes. First hand that I see is Natalie Lutmer. Natalie Lutmer, please go ahead, introduce yourself. You have 3 minutes. And as a reminder to folks, since we do not have our normal equipment today that we have in the hearing room, I will just politely interject when you reach the 3-minute mark. Natalie Lutmer, you have permission to speak. We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. So Natalie Lutmer, Happy Valley. This is my 6th time back here at the meeting in a row. Again, regarding the Kaiser monthly premium going from $88.46 to $303.20, an unnecessary $214.75. And I think when it comes to this matter, you have to have an agreement about what we're talking about. And an agreement is a meeting of the minds. And I can say there's certainly not a meeting of the minds on this issue, particularly with Commissioner West. Now, Commissioner West, last week, you gave dates of videos. And it was things that I had already known, but I thought maybe there was something I missed. So I went back and I watched those videos of the dates that you mentioned. And while the issues discussed in those videos are connected, none of it was the issue I was talking about at all. So it was not illuminating. What I'm asking, if there is something I missed, I mean, give me a timestamp and tell me exactly what I missed at the timestamp that you were talking, that is the issue I am talking about. And I don't know if you are purposely conflating the issues to confuse the public and appear as though this was something communicated clearly to the public and to the EA members when it was not. The October 23rd and November 13th meeting, what that addressed was the Kaiser premium increase because of the increased costs. And that's what made my premium go from about $80 to $88. And I agreed with that. That's reasonable. Costs increased. That is a reasonable amount. I'm not talking about that increase. I am not upset about that particular increase. I am talking about the email from Benefits on December 30th that stated, quote, the new employee monthly Kaiser premium will be $303.20 as compared to $88.46 that was communicated in open enrollment, end quote. And, quote, if the contracts are ratified prior to the end of 2024, employee insurance premiums will remain $88.46 per month as previously communicated, end quote. So my benefit enrollment statement that I received on December 9th after open enrollment confirmed the $88.46. It absolutely feels like then in December 30th, and then this came out of our paychecks on that first January paycheck, that this is a punitive measure for not having an agreement to the contracts. When I watched the December 17th meeting, which I had also previously watched, rewatching it back, it really seems like the comments from all of the commissioners feel a little bit like bullying. And all that was mentioned was that if the agreement wasn't reached, that there would be no retro pay if it wasn't reached by December 30th. It did talk about how the insurance, that this was going to happen, that you were going to take this money out of our paychecks. This issue was not mentioned. And I think it's really easy when you go back and listen to those comments, and it's easy to villainize faceless people. And at that point in time, all of the members of the EA, it's faceless people to you. It's easy to draw that line in the sand and say, coming December 30th, this is it, there's nothing else, when it's depersonalized. So I'm really asking you to please make this a priority. Think of the people that have been speaking at these meetings who it does affect them. It greatly affects us to have this $300 a month. In good faith, you can honor that $88.46. This was not necessary. This trust in our leadership, it has been damaged. And I ask again, please make a step to making this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
If you wish to speak next, I'll ask you to please raise your hand. Chair, first I see that Commissioner Schrader has her hand raised. At your discretion, I'll proceed.
Yeah.
And I would just ask both of you to just kind of hold your comments till we kind of hear the rest of the testimony. And I know you want to respond to it, and I will give you that opportunity. So if you could just hold till we finish the rest of the citizen testimony.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
If you are attending today and would like to comment, once again, I'll please ask you to raise your hand and I'll call on you in the order that I see. This is a final call. If you are a member of the public and wish to speak during public communication today, this is your last opportunity to please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order that I see. Mr. Chair, I see none.
All right. I know my colleagues have some comments. I'm going to start with you, Commissioner Schrader.
Oh, I just have a question for Nancy and maybe Jane. Am I correct in my knowledge that every other union that with folks that we employ and care about have ratified their contracts except for employee EA? Is that a correct statement?
Jane is indicating that yes, it is.
Yes, so I just would like to say that I think it's not accurate to say that we don't care about our employees. We do believe they're people. And my hope is eventually this particular issue is resolved. I think that's where we are with this, but we have to see movement from both sides, I believe. So that's all I have to say. The Employees Association, for whatever reason that I cannot fathom, has chosen not to ratify the contract like all of the other folks that work with us to serve the citizens of this county.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha. Commissioner West.
It's my recollection that in those public meetings that it was clear that we were going to see a significant increase in the Kaiser premiums, especially if the contracts were not ratified. And I could go back and look and maybe timestamp, but that was the board's understanding, and that's when we were made aware of it, was in those public meetings. So, and I remember my comments and why they were so concerning at the time publicly, not only about the increase in premiums, but the lack of preventative options to help people have better health care overall with the access and type of care they were receiving. I was very critical of how that all played out. And we worked hard to make sure, in my opinion, that a very generous offer was put forth. And now we're still in negotiations. And I believe Commissioner Schrader is right. We deeply care about the health and well-being of the staff. And it is also our job to make sure that we watch at the financial viability and are equally fair in our approach and how we do this. And I do think that a lot will be made clear once we can speak more publicly and openly about what's going on. I appreciate the passion for Natalie as she comes forward and presents week to week, and we're here to listen to those concerns. But it was not a surprise that being out of contract could and would result in where we're at today. So we continue to negotiate in good faith. I know that this board has, in good faith, continued to do so. And we hope, like Commissioner Schrader said, to have these things resolved. Nancy, maybe we can take a little extra look at the public record in those meetings put some timestamps together and see what was in the packet that disclosed this information. And maybe it's a lot of information, a lot of meetings to digest at once. It's a lot. So to come through that is a little bit of work, but I think that it would be appropriate to know what has been publicly stated, and what can be publicly like shared and looked at, and then maybe we can have an understanding about what's been said and when it was said.
Certainly.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner West. And if none of my other colleagues have any comments, I see Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I'm going to say this in a very limited amount of words and make it more clear. I think we as a county commissioners, we can't say a lot, obviously, but we certainly were aware of the circumstances if EA and ASME did not accept the contracts. So it was not just EA, but it was also ASME. So we knew, we kind of had a pretty good idea what the circumstances were. And we assumed the memberships of all those organizations understood that as well. But apparently it does not look like everyone was aware. That's all I have, Chair. I yield back.
Thank you. And Andrew, I did see, did you have any comment?
No, Chair, just to let you know that Commissioner Savas had his hand raised, but he's spoken now.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. So seeing no other hands raised at this point, I'll now close the public communication portion of this meeting and move on with what we have next. So Nancy, what's next for us?
So next we have the consent agenda. And Andrew, would you please read the consent agenda?
Mute, Andrew.
Andrew, you're on mute.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Consent agenda. A, elected officials. 1, approval of previous business meeting minutes, Board of County Commissioners. 2, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Revenue for improved mapping and administration of the ad valorem property tax system. Agreement value is $24,000 for 1 year. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Revenue. No county general funds are involved. B, county administration. 1, approval of a change order with Clackamas Progress Partners for security systems of the new courthouse. Change order value is $29,447.90, leaving a balance of $188,387.15 in credits. Funding is through credits from previous change orders, which includes a small portion of budgeted county general funds. C, Health, Housing, and Human Services. 1, approval of a revenue grant agreement with Providence Health Services for the Help Me Grow Early Childhood Development Program. Agreement value is $40,000 for 1 year. Funding is through Providence Health Services. No county general funds are involved. 2, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for preventative maintenance of transportation reaching people buses and boring lifeline service operations. Agreement value is $50,000 for 2 years. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation with a required match of $12,500 in statewide transportation improvement funds. No county general funds are involved. 3, approval of a behavioral health services agreement with Trillium Community Health Plan for behavioral health services, care coordination, peer and mobile crisis intervention, and provider oversight. Agreement value is $856,139.30 for 2 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Plan. No county general funds are involved. D, transportation and development. 1, approval of a funding agreement with the Clackamas County Cultural Coalition for a competitive arts grant program. Agreement value is $100,000 for 18 months. Funding is through state lottery funds. No county general funds are involved. 2, approval of funding agreement with Stumptown Coffee, Bridgetown Mushrooms, Overland Van Project, QB Fabrication Welding, Miles Fiberglass and Composites, and Steve Law Construction for business development grants. Total value of all 6 agreements is $367,000 each for 30 months. Funding is through state lottery funds. No county general funds are involved. 3, approval of a contract with Bell and Associates for financial analysis of franchise solid waste collection services. Contract value is $322,736.61 for 5 years. Funding is through solid waste collection franchise fees. No county general funds are involved. 4, approval of a purchase order with Dick Hanna Chevrolet for two 2025 Chevrolet Tahoe K9 Pursuit vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Purchase order value is $179,514.94. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. 5, approval of a purchase order with Dick Hanna Chevrolet for 7 2025 Chevrolet Tahoe Pursuit vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Purchase order value is $594,704.67. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. 6, approval of a purchase order with Gresham Ford for 9 2025 Ford Hybrid Interceptor vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Purchase order value is $706,141.92. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. 7, approval of a purchase order with Gresham Ford for 4 2025 Ford F-150 Responder vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Purchase order value is $310,590.16. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. 8, approval of purchase order with Dick Hanna Chevrolet for 2 2025 Chevrolet Tahoe Administration Pursuit vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Purchase order is $154,385. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Mr. Chair, that concludes the consent agenda.
And thank you, Andrew. So any commissioners wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Me, Melissa.
Okay, sorry, Melissa, I didn't see you. So it's been moved by Commissioner Savas and seconded by Commissioner Fireside to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Fireside.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And Nancy, what's up next?
So up next, Chair, would you please convene as the Water Environment Services Board of Directors?
Right. I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Water Environmental Services Board of Directors. And Nancy?
Yes, this is the Water Environmental Services consent agenda. And clerk, could you please read the consent agenda?
Water Environment Services Consent Agenda. Item A, approval of a contract with Piper Sandler and Company for debt financial services. Total contract value is $200,000 for 4 years. Funding is through Water Environment Services Sanitary Sewer and Surface Water Operating Funds. No county general funds are involved. B, approval of a resolution adopting the Water Environment Services Capital Improvement Plan for fiscal years 2025, 2026 through 2029, 2030. If all items are approved, the total cost is $243,500,000. Funding will be through Water Environment Services Sanitary Sewer and Surface Water Fund reserves, user charges, system development charges, future borrowings, as determined in the annual budget process. No county general funds are involved. Mr. Chair, that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Andrew. Do any directors wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
I move for approval of the Water Environment Services consent agenda.
I'll second.
Right. It's been moved by Director Fireside, seconded by Director West to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Director Schrader.
Aye.
Director Savas.
For reasons stated at the last work session on this matter, I will be voting no.
Director West.
Aye.
Director Fireside.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye. Motion is approved 5-1. Thank you. I'll now adjourn as the Water Environmental Services Board of Directors and reconvene.
Mr. Chair, just as a correction, could you please restate the vote tally for that last vote? I believe I heard you say 5-1 when you perhaps meant to say 4-1.
I'm sorry. Thank you for catching that. 4-1, but the motion passes. Thank you. So I'll now adjourn as the Water Environmental Services Board of Directors, reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. And Nancy, I'll ask you again, what's up next?
All right, next is County Administrator's announcements. So first, I just want to note that the board is on recess February 17th through the 21st. So returning for issues and updates on Tuesday, February 25th. So I want to make sure everyone knows that. Also, as you know, we have some pretty inclement weather out and it's been very cold. So I just want to remind everyone that we do have warming shelters here in Clackamas County. We have overnight shelters as well as daytime shelters. Please, if you are seeking shelter, you can call 211 or actually go to 211 info webpage and get the information for not just Clackamas County, but the entire region on where you can find some shelter. Also just wanted to note that Father's Heart will also be open for 24/7 as well through the inclement weather. So there's a lot going on out there. We want people to be safe. Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And now there's time for Commissioner communication and Commissioner Schrader. I'd like to start with you if that's all right.
Chair, can I have my hand up? I'd like to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that.
That's fine. Nancy, I'd like to ask you a question. Just want to clarify. There's been some, as we know, when Father's Heart fills up, we have overflow capacity in other places. I think there's a misunderstanding that we only have one shelter, but we're actually really directing people, I guess, or people are being directed by the media to Father's Heart. And I guess we've just done that as well. But my understanding, we do have overflow capacity if we run out of capacity at Father's Heart. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had to say, Chair. Yield back.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. And Commissioner Schrader, back to you.
I'm going to just apologize. I have barking dogs and I have a technician here trying to fix my dishwasher at the same time. So life has been interesting with the snow going on, and I'm also babysitting a third dog. So I'm going to apologize. You will probably hear barking. A few things that have happened this week. I had an opportunity to attend the Economic Mobility Leadership Network from the National Association of Counties, and we are getting training on how to present our topics of what moves people up the economic ladder to prosperity. And there's going to be more on that. We've had one training already. We're trying to hone things down to 3 key messages, use case studies, and keeping it simple. But this is a group that was started through a grant from the Gates Foundation in order to really give commissioners tools on what really makes economic mobility. And as it turns out, it's not just one thing. Obviously, it's housing, it's access to education, it's all of those different things. So there's going to be more about that coming along as we complete our training to be able to present to our colleagues at the National Association and also to present it to you colleagues as well. I also had a meeting of the Community Economic Development and Workforce Training group that I am a part of, and we we got an overview. Barking dogs. Hey, stop that. Barking dogs, gotta love them. Ruby. By the way, this is not my dog. I'm babysitting a dog. So in any case, we had an overview of what the conference is going to be like. We're going to be having speakers at the National Association with Carl Eckhart, who is from the National Association of Home Builders. We're going to be working on what they call NACO Edge, which is going to be presentations on mental health and well-being. We're going to meet with the director of the National Housing Task Force. And then actually we're going to do the reauthorization, we hope, This is a resolution we'll put forward for the Economic Development EDA at the national level. And also we're going to put forth a resolution concerning the USDA rural housing initiatives at that level. Things are a little bit interesting in Washington right now, but we are forging ahead, assuming that good things will happen. The other thing I wanted to mention that I really was pleased, Senator Wyden and Congresswoman Bonamici are introducing a Build Housing with Care Act. And it's the mission of this is to, give dollars to folks who are, when we're building new housing, to include daycare and childcare in that nexus. And we've talked about this already with our staff here at the county. We've been trying to figure out a way, because it has to do with, I guess, some construction rules about what is commercial and not commercial in terms of it. And evidently childcare, daycare centers are considered commercial, and it changes the dynamic. So we've been trying to work through that so we can actually, as we continue to develop housing for folks, to have hubs, but have that hub also include daycare. And I'm going to track this at the national level, and I hope it goes through. So, Chair, that's all I have for today. Oh, I did got one more thing. I did go yesterday to the Tourism Development Committee meeting, a fantastic group of people. And I told them we're going to be tracking, or I'm starting to track in Salem, some of the tweaks to land use. So agritourism, as we know it in our county with our small farms, can have the same level of opportunities that, for example, wineries do. That gets pretty complicated with land use, but we're tracking it, and we're trying to support agritourism throughout the county. So that's all I have, and I'll go to mute so you won't hear the dogs. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. And Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I know like on Tuesday, we spoke about had a work session on approving the plan for our senior services, and I wanted to build on that in a vein of public transit or public transportation. So when I first came on the commission in 2011, at that time, members of the boring community, businesses, and so on were petitioning to leave the TriMet service district. The reason they were petitioning to leave the service district was that they were receiving no service, yet the employers were paying, so forth. But what I also learned in that process and shortly after was that there was an element of transit, which is considered public transportation provided by our Health, Housing, and Human Services, and or through things like Lyft service for people that either have disabilities and so forth or low income. So in better understanding in my years of service here as a county commissioner, I have come to find out that, and especially when you talk about senior citizens, what happens is that one day you have a car, you can drive it, you are fit, able, you don't have any disabilities, and as the years go by, you get older, and then pretty soon maybe you can't drive any longer. Maybe you have a vision, maybe you have a temporary disability, but you cannot drive. Or it's a permanent disability, or you can't pass your driver's license test, or you can't afford a car. There's a number of reasons where essential public transportation is important. And I also have realized that there's also confusion of what transit really means versus the word public transportation versus the word mass transit. So all three of those have a little bit different nuances, but essentially public transportation is really what we've been working on. I want to make that perfectly clear. And that's a responsibility that's borne by the county commissioners in our role and capacity to serving the people without those needs and those services. The other challenge facing Clackamas County that's perhaps unique to Washington County and unique to Multnomah County is our topography and our natural barriers, such as rivers and grades and hills, are such that a lot of people really can't walk the same distance, or perhaps even whether they're with a walker or a cane or a wheelchair, they can't use the system to get to some of these transit stops. We currently have over 170,000, probably closer to over 200,000, but I can say with confidence over 170,000 residents in Clackamas County that don't have the technical definition of access to transit. That's a huge number of people. We're pretty unique. We're probably the only county in the state that has a number that is so significant. Yet, what's currently underway, as you all know, you have the employer-based payroll tax that provides transit funding to transit agencies, and that's what we've been living with for decades. But as a result of HB 2017, we have what's called STIF funding, which was the specific charge to employed people in Oregon. So if you're an employee in Oregon, you get a paycheck. Part of your payroll withholding is this tax for transit service, and is designed with legislative intent to provide transit so you can get to a transit system. Well, as some of you have known, I'm kind of also speaking to the public when I give you this update. We've been trying to work with and develop a path towards how we give the people that are paying the tax who don't have the service, give them hope or a path towards meeting that obligation of providing that service. That's not going to happen overnight, and it's certainly not going to happen, unfortunately, with the funding streams and the mechanisms we currently have. And, you know, you probably read the article or perhaps aware of the article that hit the newspaper yesterday with regards to, you know, the Portland region. How much are we contributing economic development and taxes to the state? And I think the theme of the article was there are a lot of revenues being generated by the Portland metro region that are benefiting the state, the rural areas of the state. And I would also argue that within that, there are a lot, that disbursement of funds, transit funds, for example, I can tell you that I'm very confident in saying that Clackamas County, whether you're inside the TriMet Service District or inside the metro boundaries or inside, frankly, our boundaries, we're not getting our fair share when it comes to those transit dollars. So we've been working on trying to work with everyone on a solution. I don't know where that's going to go, but I am, you know, we have, I won't say hit in our conversations, we have not found a solution. And I guess I'll just word it that way. I haven't found a solution, and we're trying to work with that. And I will be talking to some of the people, some of those are state legislators that I've promised that I would get back to them and give them an ask saying, we need help. We need help. We're trying to figure out how we are going to meet the obligation of providing the service that employees are paying for. It's just constitutionally unfair for people to be paying the tax and not receiving the service. And so we need a path to demonstrate we can justify why their payroll check should be reduced by that tax and yet not receive the service. So I just want to just share that with you and share that hopefully we can have a work session on this soon as to how we navigate this challenge. But I think our goal, again, is to recognize that we have a lot of senior citizens as well as disabled people that are of younger age who need those services, who don't have them. And people are falling into that category where they need the service today, where they didn't need it perhaps even a year ago. So this is a growing problem. It is not a diminishing problem. So that's my update. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you, Commissioner Salvis. Commissioner West.
Thank you. I'll be brief today. I had just a really great opportunity this week to meet with Lori Wimmer, who is with the Northwest Oregon Labor Council, and really discuss how labor is going to intersect and be key in helping us deal with the homelessness, substance abuse disorder, the fentanyl crisis in our communities, and talking about how they can be a stakeholder to help build the care continuum and when people are ready, they're able to re-enter the job force, build essential skills, get an education, and build that social capital and that individual capital again in their lives. And she is a wealth of knowledge. She cares deeply about these issues. It was wonderful to have a chance to learn about labor issues, learn about some history of labor in Oregon, and find some real common ground about how we can also begin to maybe work better with business community and other stakeholders. So I really appreciated that. That meeting went probably twice as long as I expected, but sometimes when you get going and you get into a fervor, and brains and all those synapses start firing, those meetings, sometimes they just go longer, and that one did. And I just really want to thank Lori for her advocacy and her time that she gave me. And it's so essential as we go now into the President Lynn Peterson's task force, I think, and we look at all our different stakeholders and how we begin to address this crisis in our communities. And so doing that work, and that was a really important opportunity and time that I was able to give to that. Everybody stay safe. We have warming centers. Check on your neighbors, check on those that in our community that have issues around housing. We want to make sure that you are aware of the resources available to stay warm. Those centers are open. They're all over the county, and we have great staff and resources for those that find themselves not able to stay warm and needing those services, those essential services. We want to make sure that they're available. Please utilize them. We want to help take care of you. And so just want to give everybody heads up, be safe. Try not to drive if you don't have to. And make sure we're taking care of our neighbors as we kind of hit this little winter storm as it kind of descends upon us. And with that, Chair, that's all I have this week.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner West. And Commissioner Fireside.
Yes, thank you. So I had a great meeting with Sport Oregon this week. We talked about economic development and sports tourism, which was great, and sort of talking about how they've worked actually with our tourism department when people come in for sporting events to make sure that they're recreating Mount Hood. It was just a really great overall conversation about that. And then I also met with the Stafford Hamlet, and we talked about the changes in the National Flood Insurance Program. Those letters are going out to property owners today. So that's a really important thing. I think that will come before us in some capacity. And then we also talked about the land study, and also because we are kicking off the Child's Road project, which I'm very excited about because I actually drive down that road every single day of my life. So I'm very excited that we came to an agreement to do that project. But we talked about the fact that some of the farms will be impacted because the cutoff to the road, their signs won't be available. But DDT has committed to making sure that there are signs so that during those summer months, we can all go to Fiala Farms and get our yummy peaches and all the things that we all enjoy in that area, not just that particular farm. So that was great. And then this week we are on recess, but I'm going to be meeting with Clackamas Workforce Partnership. So I'm very excited to just engage that way. So for that, just everyone stay safe and be careful. And I cannot wait to get outside and go sledding. So that's what I'm going to do as soon as we're done.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Fireside. And I'll keep my comments brief too. I just wanted to say a couple things. I actually met yesterday with Molalla Mayor Scott Kaiser, his city manager, deputy city manager, and a lot of great things going on in Molalla. I just kind of wanted to do a shout out to those folks, and really they have some great industrial land they were talking about, and really excited to see the many great things that are going on in Molalla and ways that we can work with Molalla as well. Next, I kind of want to give a big shout out. I always appreciate the staff that are working in the bitter cold weather. And I know they've been working hard to get our roads safe, put de-icing, doing all the things to prepare for this storm that is now upon us. So just a shout out to all the road department staff that are out there working hard in this cold weather. And I wanted to just again reiterate, Commissioner West talked about that, really trying to minimize travel at this time. We're really, it sounds like there is going to be some ice coming, and that is where I see it really getting treacherous. And that's when our emergency room departments start having more patients coming in from falls. And what we want you to do is be safe. I encourage you, I'm a big fan of those ice shoe chains. And particularly, it's probably one of the best things I've seen, when you're trying to walk on ice. But if you don't have to, don't. And when it comes to driving, a big thing I encourage folks all the time is, have more distance. Stopping distance is way more. Be patient and slow down when you're doing that. And historically, when I've seen nationally on the news and things that are really tragedies where people bring charcoal barbecues inside to keep warm, they use their gas stove. Those are things that you should not be doing. and would just really caution you. And this is again for the last couple meetings, I've been continue to reiterate, please check on our seniors and those that have hearing impairments or other concerns that during this cold weather, checking on them can mean all the difference in the world. And so with that, I would just say again, please be careful in the next few days until we can kind of get through this cold storm. So unless any of my other commissioners have any other comments, seeing none, if there's no further, this meeting is adjourned and I'll use my gavel here.